Video, we're going to talk about resolution because it can get really confusing when you're putting a mood board together, for example, and you've got different resolutions depending on whether the image came from the scanner or from your iPhone or from the internet. So it can get really confusing. So I'll just show you some quick, easy tips to better understand and make sure that the final artwork will have good resolution. So the first thing is, let's make the final artboard. So in Photoshop, I'm going to go to File, New. I'll click on Print because that'll automatically give me 300 pixels pixels per inch. So that's a good resolution for printing. And then here I'm going to change it to 11 inches width, 14 inches height, and I've got 300 pixels per inch. I got the background white, and then I've got RGB color, and then I'm going to click on Create. So that's my destination artwork where I will paste all of my pictures. But now I want to make sure that my pictures from my iPhone, the internet, and the ones that I scanned, I want to make sure that they all work for this size of the artboard and the size of the paper that I'm working with here. So it's really easy to figure out if you're using a scan. So if I go to here, I can go to image size and see that I already have 300 pixels per inch, and it's 6 inches by 10 inches. So that's already correct size because I scanned it with 300 pixels per inch. So that means I can just go copy that and put it here, and it'll work just fine in terms of the size. Same thing with the fabric. So this fabric is also 300 pixels per inch, and it's 8 inches by 11 inches. So that also is quite reasonable, and that's easy to work because it's exactly the same resolution as my destination file. So that'll work as well. But where it gets confusing and complicated is if you're using images that you got off the internet and if you're using images that you got from your iPhone. So let's have a look here at this picture that I got from the internet. So if I go to image size, I can see that that's 10 inches by 13 inches and it's 75 pixels per inch. So that seems to be low resolution. And then if I look at here, I can see it's 750 by 975. So I want to know what size would this actually be if I had it as 300 pixels per inch. So what I do here is I put 300 pixels per inch and I turn off the resample box. So this is very important, turn off the resample box. So what I'm actually getting is 2.5 inches by 3.25 inches if my resolution is 300. So if I click on OK, then I can copy this, put it in my destination file, and yeah, I can see that it's only 2 inches, so it's not very big. So in that case, I may want to look for some bigger pictures. Another example is if I'm using a picture from my phone. So here I've got my sketch that I took a photo of using my iPhone. So if I go to image size, it'll have like a really crazy width and height. So it's 42 inches by 56 inches. It's 72 pixels per inch. So then I want to know, what is this going to be if I make it into 300 pixels per inch? So first of all, you turn off the resample check mark. So turn that off. And then here you're going to put 300. And then it tells you this is going to become 10 inches by 13 inches. So that actually is reasonable and good. So I'll click on OK. And now I can copy that, and that's exactly what I'm going to get. So I go to my destination artwork, paste it, and now I can see this is actually fine. So that's how you can kind of plan and see what you need in terms of the resolution. I'll show you how you can make sure that the images you're using from the internet are good enough quality, and also to figure out what size they're actually going to be when you put them on your actual destination artboard, for example, a mood board. So if I go here and I go search clouds, I can then click on tools. I can then go here and select large, and then it's going to give me large images. So let's say if I click on this one, I can see that this one is 1400 by 1050 pixels. So that seems pretty good. So I'm going to go just save it. cloud, desktop, JPEG is a good format for me to save. And then if I open this in Photoshop, I can then check, is it good enough for me to use? So I'm just going to go to image size. I'm going to check off the resample box, and I'm going to say here 300 pixels per inch. And that's going to give me 4 inches by 3.5 inches. Then I'm going to say OK. Then if I copy this, I can go back to my destination artboard and then I can paste it. And then that is the size that I had. So that's the maximum size I'm going to have at 300 pixels per inch. So I can keep it or I can delete it if I think it's too small. But that's what it is. So you have to be mindful and make sure that you're not going to make it bigger, because if you're going to make it bigger from what it is now, it's going to become blurry, so you can't do that. However, you can make it smaller, but you cannot make it bigger because that's going to ruin it and make it more blurry. So don't do that. So that's how you can figure out what size you're actually getting. So if you look at my original sketch, you can see that I've had 3,000 pixels, whereas the one that I got from the internet was about 1,000 pixels. So what you want to do is make sure that whether you're getting your images from your camera or from your from Google search, make sure that the images are not like 700 pixels or 800 pixels or 1,000 pixels. Just make sure that they're bigger. So if they're 3,000 pixels, that's good. If they're 5,000 pixels, that's good. I think even if they're around 2,000 pixels, they're still workable with your destination artboard, which is 300 pixels per inch resolution. Summarize, if you're using images from the internet or you're using images from your camera or your iPhone, you have to go to image size, and then you have to turn off the resample, enter here 300 pixels per inch, and then you can see what size they actually are, and then you can decide whether you want them or not. So this one is 10 inches, so I can use it. But if I got it off the internet or if the picture was small, it might say 2 inches or 3 inches, in which case maybe it's too small, but maybe it's okay. So that really just depends on what you're doing. The quickest way to see if it's going to work or not is just to click look at the dimensions indicated on top. So if it has about 1,000 pixels, then it's probably too small for anything. But if it says 3,000 pixels or if it says 4,000 pixels, it's good for printing. And even if it says perhaps around 2,000 pixels, then it's probably going to be big enough for, let's say, a mood board. Again, depending on what layout you want. So that's how you can check. But if you're using images from your scanner, then that would be the easiest and the safest way, because it would just be preset when you're scanning to make sure it's being scanned with 300 pixels per inch. So then in that case, it'll automatically work to go onto your final destination artboard, and then you won't have to make any changes. You can just use it as scanned. So hopefully this helps figure out the resolution, and I would recommend that you practice this and use several images from the internet or from your iPhone or from a scanner so that you can practice this and make sure that you understand how this works. But always remember, it has to work with the destination file, which is 11 by 14, 300 pixels per inch. And if you're going to include this artwork into your portfolio, then it should be horizontal orientation and not vertical. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well when you're setting up your file. And that's it for this lesson.